So we now have a new button component, and the next thing we want to do is utilize it within our app component. So here at the very top, I'm going to import button. It is the default export of the button.jsx file in the same directory as app. So I can simply import button like so. Give that default export a name of button. Remember, our components must start with a capital letter, so while you are welcome to rename this whatever you want, it's typically common to give it the exact same name as the component in the file, but the most important thing is that it must have a capital first letter. So I'm going to import button from the button file in the same directory, which we can reference with /. Then down below, what I'm going to do is replace this button with our component button. So the syntax is going to be very similar, but remember, this is a regular HTML element, or specifically a JSX element that becomes an HTML element. So we're going to change this to the button component by changing this B to a capital B right here and right here. So now we are rendering a button component. And the beautiful part about this is our text right here can remain the same because we built in the logic of children right here in our button component. So that dynamic bit of text that is changing, that is the text like register or log in, will simply become the children prop right here, and we're going to render it as the content of this regular HTML button. So nothing changes, and that is why you're typically going to see this pattern of keeping children to render the button text rather than a separate prop. Because it kind of is a separate way of thinking about it compared to the regular HTML button. So the good news here is that this doesn't have to change. And now for our class name, this is also going to continue to work because class name is the prop that we defined right here for the additional string of Tailwind classes that is floating into this component. But the beautiful part now is this component has taken care of some of the common styles that we want all buttons to have, like H10, rounded, border to, etc. So now we can remove those common styles from the button component being rendered in the app component, right? So it kind of simplifies the design by extracting those common styles to the button JSX file. So we no longer need H10. We're going to keep W full. We no longer need rounded. Once again, that is captured in the styles for the button, right? There's nothing wrong if we, by the way, accidentally add on these styles because they're just going to be added on to the end of that string and override the original ones. They're going to be the exact same Tailwind CSS classes. So the button is going to look the same. There's no harm done, but obviously we don't need the same class written twice in the same string. So that's why I'm clearing it right here. So we do not need border to or border solid. But we do need the remainder of the classes because this is what's going to be different for this button. We're going to give it a red border, and we're also going to make it hover with a red background. So save that, and in our app, everything should still work. So our toggle still works, and our button still has our styles. It looks exactly the same, but now we are welcome to render whatever button we want. For example, here I can do this, and I can give it a border of blue instead, and give it a blue background, just as an example. And now you'll notice that we have those elements that are common, such as the rounded edges in the border, extracted to the button JSX component while still allowing the parent to customize some of the specific styles that it cares about. And that is why I think it's a very cool, elegant design that shows you some of that power of components in React. All right, so this blue button was solely for the sake of example, so I'm going to remove it. But that completes our refactor of moving some of our button logic into its own separate component and then utilizing it in app. That's all there is to cover in this lesson, so I will see you in the next one.